because then you can play in any kirtan because you've developed your.
Okay, what's the story with the doors?
Are they especially open for some reason?
Brother, do you mind if I just take 2 more minutes finishing this?
Oh, you're painting. I didn't notice.
It's okay.
Have a seat.
I just need to finish this one last space.
Dr. Chang, what happened? Oh, okay. I got it. You know the song. Jai Radhamani. Okay, I'm glad I wore my sweatshirt. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari James Bad Paramahansa, Parudikacharya Ashtotar Sri Sriman Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Parudikacharya Ashtotar Sri Sriman Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Christian Prabhu, can I have one of these books? Thank you, Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, sorry. Let's try again. Okay. On the 6th day of June 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Krishna Priya, is there any reason why you're that way instead of this way? Was it the painting?
No, it was the painting, yes, everything was here.
Yeah, it's a little better that way. Sorry. Okay. And we are reading from chapter 6, titled Dhyana Yoga. We're beginning a new chapter. Text number 1. I don't want to discombobulate our main chanter over there. Okay? Dr. Zach said he would come. He didn't say when, though. Maybe he'll come near the end of the class. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashita Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Naranagni Nachakriyaha Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashrita Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Nananagni Nachakriyaha Anashrita Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Naniragni Nachakriyaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashrita Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Nananagni Nachakriyaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashrita Karma Palam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Nananagni Nachakriyaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Lord said, Anashrita, without taking shelter, karma palam, of the result of work. Karyam, obligatory karma work. Karoti, performs, yaha, one who, saha, he, sannyasi, in the renounced order, cha, also, yogi, mystic, cha, also, na, not, nihi, without, agnihi, fire, na, nor, cha, also, akriyaha, without duty. Translation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, The Lord emphasizes that the process of karma yoga, or acting in Krishna consciousness, is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness, and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity, because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the Supreme Whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties, and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra yajnas, fire sacrifices. But actually they are self-interested, because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half-open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole, without self-interest. A Krishna-conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way: Nadanang najanang nasundarim kavitam ba jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavata bhaktida haituki tvahi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So now we're launching into this chapter 6. Now just a note of interest. Srila Prabhupada gave some wonderful talks on this chapter, and they have been collected in a separate series called the Yoga System tapes. And I used to listen to those all the time. They just encompassed the whole philosophy, and Prabhupada is really on fire. It's 1968 or so, and 69, mostly in LA. And I highly recommend those. If you want to listen, I can just give me a little thumb drive, and I'll put them on here, and you can listen to them. And we made it into a book too, called, what was it? I forget what the book is called, but it's a book of these lectures. So in this chapter, Krishna begins by kind of contradicting a little bit what the common definition of yogi is, the popular definition. He says that if someone just gives up his duties and goes off to the forest without any connection to me, that is not real yoga, real sannyas. He says here that the real criterion is once again not being attached to the fruits of one's activity. You may recall the whole previous chapter was titled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And why is there such emphasis on this? Because the basic kind of default principle in all the Vedic literature, and including in the Bhakti literature, is kind of the basis, not the ultimate, but the foundation upon which the impetus for devotional service, for transcendence is built, is a desire to end the suffering of this world. It really is a desire for liberation. So much of the preliminaries is convincing us, number one, that this suffering is alien to us. It's completely involved with the body, the gross and subtle body, but we're not that gross and subtle body. And in fact, this is the gross and subtle body, what we call upadis. There are impositions on the soul. that we have surrounded ourselves with. It's due to our own activities and our own rebelliousness against Krishna that we have these external things that we don't really need. And so the desire to get free of that, that's why the first instruction in the very beginning is that you're not the body or the soul, that the soul is eternal, the body is temporary. So all of the sufferings that we have in this world are a result of our identifying ourselves with this gross and subtle body. So much of the first chapters was working to attain a certain state of consciousness where we're not controlled by the senses, not controlled by the mind, and rather, Krishna's brought it up several times, but not really in any emphasis until he gets to the 7th chapter. And that is, by fixing the mind on me, one can detach oneself from the fruits of one's labor and this idea of fruit of work. Now our main literature that gives us the practical means of devotional service step by step, very systematically, is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Srila Prabhupada gave us as the nectar of devotion. And right at the beginning, I think 10th or 11th verse, after the preliminary verses, he deals with this very subject that Srila Prabhupada is dealing with here in the purport, and Krishna deals with. And that is acting without the slightest tinge of fruit of desire. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karma janavatam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uchite. Bhakti uttama, sorry. That the supreme devotional service, not mixed up with karma, because devotional service of bhakti can also be adulterated. Karma mishra bhakti. You can mix in fruit of desire with bhakti. That's what the demigods are all about. Why do you think Indra keeps getting into trouble? You know, because he's attached. He's attached to all the angels and the nymphs, dancing in his court and the Nandanandana garden and being in charge and all of this stuff. He's a devotee. He recognizes Krishna's supremacy, but because he's so wrapped up in this, sometimes he's covered and he forgets, as in the Govardhana Leela, or when he fought with Krishna over the Parijata flower of all things, and again and again he's overwhelmed with that. So there's a lesson there for us also, because the natural tendency is, because we're conditioned, is whatever is good, we'll mix in some of this material desire. And so right off the bat, Rupa Goswami gives it, no. Anya abhilashita shunyam, completely devoid of any other desire. Abhilash is more than just a passing desire. It's an ardent aspiration. It's something that's deeply rooted. It says without any other, strong desire or weak desire, any other desire. And he defines the categories. Jnana karma dhyanabatam. Jnana karma adi. Adi means etc. So jnana refers to desire for liberation. Now, ultimately, that's also a material desire. See, we have to see how it's good to want that in the beginning, but it's not good to hang on to that as your ultimate goal. It's good to want. Why would Krishna say janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha darshana darshanam? One of the elements of knowledge is to always be aware, to keep in the forefront the dangers and the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. That's coming up in the 13th chapter. And again, we talk dukkha mashashvatam. This world is an abode of misery. Get out. This is an appeal to our self-interest, if you will, to come to the platform of Satchidananda, beyond all misery. So that has to be we shouldn't forget that, because it's a very sobering experience, really, to see this world with clear eyes and understand there's no happiness here. There's only the illusion of it. And that illusion is dragging us on birth after birth to perform activities against our ultimate self-interest. This is the whole idea. So this theme, sannyas, means to give up everything. Sannyas, total nyas. Sun is a prefix that means total, like sun kirtan. Total kirtan, thousands. Like think Jagannath Ratha Yatra in Puri. You know? In other words, huge, overwhelming kirtan. This was Lord Chaitanya's program for us. We're not going to go to the Himalayas and try to control the mind with all of these techniques. We don't need to. You know, just dancing and chanting with others with full abandon and full, you know. In other words, it's a process, but it's a joyful process. It's an easy process if we take it properly. So, sannyas means total renunciation. But here he's saying that doesn't mean renouncing one's duties. This whole idea of karyam is really a duty, obligatory work. Karyam karma karotiya. One who does not take shelter, in other words, is not attached to the fruits of his activities, but acts as he's obliged to, is a sannyasi and a yogi, and not someone who doesn't light a fire. In other words, doesn't perform any sacrifice, doesn't do anything. So right away, Krishna is defining what real sannyas and yoga are. And they're not necessarily the outward forms. We have so many examples of these sannyasis and yogis in the Bhagavatam who are sometimes outright enemies of the devotees. Think to Vasamuni, at least when he was in his relation to Ambarish, you know, is that they become proud. Just try to visualize what happens. You work so hard, you spend years, maybe decades, hundreds of years, developing, refining these mystic powers, you know, and finally you've got the power. You know, maybe I don't know how it works, but maybe you strain, you say, "Do I have property yet?" And you try and you get something, but it doesn't work, and finally it works, you know, and you're living for hundreds of years. Naturally, you're going to become proud. If you don't have the culture of bhakti, you see that? And so yoga alone is simply a material process. Desire for liberation alone is simply a material desire. But they can help, they can support bhakti. Just like this idea of sit properly. I mean, someone was slouching, they could have even been lying down. I mean, you see so many things in the early days in the temples, you know. People lie down. I mean, I remember we used to do the kirtans after Sunday, after the Sunday feast. We had to clean up at 9 o'clock rather than 8:30, so we had the whole half hour. So we had people, but gradually the devotees, they would take rest. So there's no one in there except this little bhajan band and people who maybe come for the first time. And, they're used to furniture. And before long, it's like this, and they're lying. I have to stop the kirtan. No lying down in the temple. So the tendency is to adulterate. That's why we need guidance. We need careful guidance. The first step is surrendering to someone who you trust, who you can surrender your will to, really, because that will, when it's acting independently of Krishna under the modes of nature, if you don't have some countervailing force, then that's going to take you right into degradation. It can be subtle also, so subtle. It raises edge. So he's giving this instruction here. Now Prabhupada right away he says it's very difficult, the Eightfold System. And basically he's saying it's not, although it's recommended here, he emphasizes the process of karma yoga, or acting Krishna consciousness. After all, he's trying to get Arjuna to fight in this war. Karma. He's not telling him to go off to the Himalayas. Although in this chapter, as Prabhupada says, there's some instruction. But Arjuna properly refuses. He says, I can't do that. He's Kshatriya trained, and he says it's impossible. But at the end of the chapter, Krishna said, well, the best yogi is one who's always thinking of me in love. So Arjuna is in that category. So the criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness, not with the view to enjoying the fruits of work. You see how revolutionary this is. And then he quotes Lord Chaitanya's famous verse, Nadanang najananda sundarim. So first he's defining what he doesn't want. And these things are what people mostly want, dhana. Dhana means wealth. Of course, that's the impetus for most people's activity, right? Or big politicians, janam, this election we had, that's all the desire for jana, for having so many followers and this and that. And whoever loses, freaks out, I was cheated. Can you imagine? That's insane. And of course, sundarim, beautiful spouse, Kavitam. Now, kavitam means different things. It can also mean very great poetic ability or material knowledge. Kavi means a wise person or educated. Jagadisha. Now, it's interesting that he's addressing Krishna in kind of a generic form here. Jagadish is like everybody's definition of God, the Lord of the universe. If God isn't the Lord of the universe, he's nothing in any religion. You see, there's nothing about Krishna here in this verse. So he's saying this is proper for any religious person could pray like this. So and then he implies by saying Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvara, I don't even want liberation, because in birth after birth, my Lord, O Ishvara, Bhavatat Bhakta Dahoit, let me have unmotivated devotion unto you. This is our prayer. This is a central theme in Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, any real Vaishnava, is that it has to be unmotivated, and meaning no material motivation. Otherwise, your developing affection for Krishna can be cut off by throwing in this material motivation. You see? It's a very refined form of bhakti without the slightest tinge of material desire. And that's what Lord Chaitanya is giving. This is the great truth. And of course, the next verse is all about Krishna. I Nanda Tanuja. Nanda Tanuja means the son of Nanda. There's no question. Krishna in Vrindavan. I Nanda Tanuja Kinkadam Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Mudho Kripayata Vapada Pankajas Tatadhuli Sadasham Vichindi. Now it's interesting here because here he said, I want your unmotivated devotional service birth after birth. But in the next verse, although he's praying directly to Krishna, he's really describing this horrible condition he's in. My dear Krishna, son of Nanda, I am your kinkar, I am your humble servant, but I forgot that. Kinkaram patitam mam, I've fallen down. I don't know how anyone can try to screw out from our philosophy that we don't fall from the position of service to Krishna. Patitam. Patitam means fall. This is Krishna himself saying in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Anyway, patitam mam vishameh. Horrible ocean of birth and death. So he's asking to be picked up from that ocean of death. But not just simply for freedom from pain, and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. Think of me as a grain of dust at your lotus feet. In other words, it's a prayer to be situated again in service to Krishna. That's what this prayer is. It's a more advanced prayer than the first one. The first one is basically what you don't want. I want the unmotivated service. But service to who? Not just Jagadisha, not just the Ishwar, but Nanda Tanuja, which divines, it's Krishna, the original Krishna. So the Lord Chaitanya's Shastika is giving us full instruction here. Okay, any questions on this verse? We can go on. He continues. Yes?
Just maybe for later, could you recite that shloka that told me how to
Okay, just remind me later. Okay, text 2. Ready? Yang Sangyasamati Prahu Yogam Tam Vidhi Pandava Naya Sanyasta Sankalpo Yogi Bhavati Kashtana. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Purport. Real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as a living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification, or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses, as prescribed in the jnana and yoga processes, is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna-conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada is, as he often does, whatever chapter you may be in, the Krishna conscious lesson is coming out of it. So, sannyas yoga. So this idea of sannyas is really not, of course there's a sannyas ashram, we know the sannyasis. But as Krishna will say here, or he says in the last chapter also, that real sannyas is an internal state. It's an internal state. Meaning that someone who is totally detached, just like we have the example of, who was it, Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Pundarik Vidyanidhi is in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. He was a great devotee. But he had a very opulent lifestyle. And Gadadhar Pandit was sent to him to learn intricacies of bhakti. And he comes upon Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and he's being fanned by this huge peacock fan. He's sitting on a throne. He's dressed in all these silks, and the incense is burning and everything. So what is this? So he has these doubts. He has like an offensive thought. So then I forget who it was, Madhava Ghosh, one of these singers, he sang some verse. I think it was Barha Pidam Nata Bharavapu, the one about Krishna entering the forest wearing the peacock plumes. And as soon as he heard that verse, he fell off the throne, he crashed down. And his hair became scattered, and he was like in ecstasy for hours. Not just for a few minutes. And Gadadhar Pandit was aghast and said, oh, now I see. The externals may be this opulence, but really he's internally a great devotee. And to mitigate his so-called offense, he took initiation from him, became his disciple. So the externals are not always indicative. The behavior is. And so, of course, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, his behavior was the behavior of the devotee. But the point is that Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, is really all about the qualities and the activity. What is your real qualities and what do you do? You may claim so many things, but what do we see? If someone shows attachment to things, material, and no attraction for hearing about Krishna, this is the criterion given right at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, 1st canto. He says, Dharmak swanaschituk pangsam vishvakshena kathasaya notpariye jaridatim shama evahi kevalam. This word shama evahi kevalam is kind of a little idiom. It means the only benefit you get is the effort. In other words, it's useless labor. So he says, if you do your dharma, whatever your dharma may be, varnashram dharma, swadharma, any dharma, and suanushchitak means very nicely. You're performing all your duties very nicely, but these whatever you're doing is not increasing your desire to hear about Krishna, then it's all wasted labor. Dharma vishvakshena katasya not utpadiye jaridatim. Ratim means attraction. If it doesn't awaken an attraction for Krishna Katha, then sham evi kevalam. So you can't really fake that, I mean, if someone is not, Prabhupada explained that this is an essential part of his presentation of Krishna consciousness. He compared it. He said, "Why are the churches closing down?" Because he bought, the L.A. was a church, and Toronto was a church, some other churches. I think Laguna was a church. So clearly, there was a lack of interest. Why? Because you can't just have these rituals without real substantial knowledge coming out about God. That's what it can only go on so long with rituals without any substance. So this is what Krishna consciousness does. It awakens one's desire to hear about Krishna, and that desire and that hearing actually obliterates the material desire. Of course, the most important hearing and chanting is Hare Krishna, both with yourself, with your japa, and in kirtan. That's the super refined, powerful hearing and chanting. So, sometimes we have to drag ourselves to the kirtan. We have to force ourselves to chant japa. But that's the actual medicine. And we should know that, and that comes from reading and hearing and seeing other devotees, that there is a platform where it's just pure delight, where it's just like drinking nectar. How many Pibhanti he bhagavata atmanak satam katam matam shabandapotesha sambritam punandi he vishayivadushatashayam vajanti tatchadana sororuhantikam. Beautiful verse, the end of the second chapter, I think, second canto, sorry. So Shukadeva is saying to Brigid, those who drink Pabhandiye Bhagavata Atmanak Satam Katamritam, the nectar of Kata about the Supreme Person, who's so dear to the devotees. Bhagavata Atmanak Satam, their very self. Katamritam, how do they drink? Through the ears. Shravana, literally through the holes of the ears. Shravanapateshu. And Sambritaman, who are fully satisfied, enlivened by that. Then what happens? Punantiye. So you have Pabhantiye, Bhagavad Katamritam, Punantiye. Pabhanti, Punanti. Punanti means purify. Vishaya Vadushatashiyam. Let's see the poetry. Vishaya Vadushatashiyam. So Vishaya is sense pleasure, sense gratification. And Vadushita means contaminated. Ashaya is this word desire. So it cleanses away, purifies its polluted aim of life known as sense gratification, Prabhupada says in his translation. And then what? Vajanti yevashi vidushtajayam, vajanti tat charana sororohantikam. They go to the spiritual world, to a place nearby Krishna's lotus feet. All from drinking in that nectar. Now, as Rupa Goswami very realistically says in his Upadeshamrita, he says, Syat Krishna Namacharitari Sitapya Vidya Pitto Patapta Rasanasena Rochikano. You know the verse? It's a very important word. He says, Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes are very sweet by nature. Sita. But unfortunately, avidya pitto patapta, because our tongue is covered by the bile of ignorance, it compares it to like a serious case of hepatitis, which results in what is that? Jaundice. Yeah. And so I once had serious jaundice, and it's true, the sugar didn't taste sweet, it was bitter. So the bitter tastes sweet because of our ignorance. But like very nice anyway chanting under discipline, even though it may be a little difficult, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and continue with it. The disease of ignorance is destroyed at its root, and the natural sweetness of Krishna Guitar is then experienced. And this is a very important principle, because part of the problem we have is, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita today, the importance of faith. Faith, it's not just faith in Krishna, that he's the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it's faith in the process, faith that he can empower even us, who are so fallen, to practice the process and achieve it. Faith that as we say, there's an offense against the holy name, to think it's an exaggeration, that it really can't be that sweet. They're just, Tunde Tandamanita team, as Rupa Goswami says, why just one mouth? I want to have millions of mouths, millions of tongues to taste the nectar. Sanatana Goswami, Jayati Jayati Namananda Rupam Murare, the holy name of Murari Krishna is the very form of bliss. It is my only ornament, my very life, he says. So we have to feel that we can also get to that state. Otherwise you kind of throw in a towel, Now, it's not easy because we're so conditioned and so many things. But we should try as hard as possible and take the long view. I mean, I have, Okay, I know I've had millions and millions of births, and I blew it in every one of those births, right? Because I keep getting more births. But somewhere along the way, I did something that brought me to Krishna consciousness in this lifetime. So I've taken a few steps. Maybe I take a few steps forward. But just see, in the larger scheme of things, we're practically all home back to Godhead now, even if it takes 1 or 2 more births, or 3 more, or 10 more births. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try as hard as possible in this birth. Because as much advancement as we can make, that'll set us up for the next life. No matter where it may be, no matter what planet it may be on. Krishna promises that you don't lose anything. He says right in the second chapter, Nehava kamanashosti. There's no destruction in this effort of devotion. No nasha. Pratyavaya means, and no diminution. It's like a win-win situation. But still, we should try as hard as we can to make as much advancement. So, any questions on text number 2? Is it 2? Yeah. So everything is served by Krishna Consciousness. When you study Krishna Consciousness, you realize that the supreme jnana, supreme karma, supreme yoga. Everything is there. You don't feel, oh, what am I missing out? Right? What am I missing out? I didn't get enough jnana. If you study these books, if you get the classes, you learn everything you need to know. There's so many things you can know about so many different things and processes, even in the Vedic paradigm. You don't need to know. I remember once, this is the Google age, so I think Tirtha Maharaj was speaking something about the Vedas, And I said, well, what are these Vedas? So I Googled Vedas, and sure enough, there's Veda PDF. I downloaded it, and I got the whole, not the Samaveda, the Rig Veda on my little machine. So I started checking it out, and it was all hymns to Agni, the first hymns to Agni and Indra and this and that, But it was all praying, please smile upon me, and, it was all material. Karma kanda. We don't need to know it. You really have to choose what you place your intelligence in, because there's only a limited number of things. So Prabhupada has given us abundance of material that we can place our intelligence in and learn about. And in this way, purify, because as soon as you open a book, you read, you're really associating with Prabhupada, which is the best association it can be. We should remember that. The most important form of association is through the Vani, or the words, and that's what he's giving us here. All right, should we do one more? Okay. Aruruksho maner yogam karma karana muchyate yogarudhasya tasyaiva shamak karana muchyate. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Purport. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. The ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. According to various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into 3 parts: Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called the Yoga Rurukshu stage, and the highest rung is called Yoga Rudha. Concerning the Eightfold Yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered fruit of material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna-conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna. And being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. So, what has happened to yoga? Yoga is an English word. The English language vacuums up anything that becomes popular. Even believe it or not, I used to have this big unabridged dictionary. This was before the internet age. I lugged it all the way from Miami. You know, one of these things like 1,000 pages, 2,000. So at one point I looked up, I thought, well, I wonder if the word Kshatriya and Shudra are in the dictionary. And they were there. They were there because of the English, you know, in India. They brought a lot of these words. So everyone knows by now, you know, yoga is very popular. And I'm sure in SanDiego there's probably 50 yoga studios, if not more. So what has happened? You know? In other words, what's going on in those yoga studios? Well, it's like people come to any process, right? Or the gym. They just, where Trader Joe's is now a gym there. I don't think they're very popular because that parking lot is always empty. But anyway, so there's various gyms and there's also various yoga studios. And basically it's the same motivation. To have a healthy body, to, you know, and balance and something material, isn't it? So this system of yoga, which is really just one aspect of Ashtanga yoga, asana, which is expanded into this hatha. Hatha simply means by force. You know, you're doing it with great force. And so there's physical things, and there's some mental thing to it, you know, to try to be calm and breathe quietly. But it's all basically just to make you feel better, make you feel good. And there may be a tinge of this and that, you know, and actually it's true that people become dissatisfied, and that's why yoga studios are some of the best places where kirtan becomes popular, because there's a spiritual element to it, you know. But let's face it, let's be honest, even the kirtan can also be used for material purposes. So I can feel good. Oftentimes you find when people join, I remember we had this bhakta, and he was doing quite well. He was, he was doing all his duties and everything. But whenever he talked about it, it was always about how I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, and now I didn't feel so much bliss when I did that, and I. And I told him, just forget about yourself, just talk about Krishna. Then you'll really be happy. But that's a common failing, you know? And when people don't know anything about anything, the yoga studios are in business not to enlighten people and take them back to Godhead, but to make some money. Then the whole thing devolves into some physical thing. And then you have, this hot yoga, where you sweat more and more, right? You know about that. And the guy turns out to be corrupted. He was exploiting some of the female students. He's a crook, he's horrible. So Prabhupada keeps bringing, and I'm telling you these lectures because yoga, there's a competition. There's Mahesh Yogi, there was Yogi Bhajan. He actually met with Yogi Bhajan and these other guys. And he knew from India, Ramakrishna Mission and all this stuff. So Prabhupada knew that there was all this misguidance. And so, Prabhupada is railing at beautiful lectures that he's giving on the Veda, and all these purports are read, and then he's commenting on the purports, that we have to keep the purity, because bhakti can also be misused. That's why there are so many deviant sects, sahajiya. You know what sahajiya actually means is easy. Take it easy, which basically means forget about the shastra, right? You don't need the scripture. What do we need scripture for? We got the singing, chanting. Carnegie Hall. Why do I bring up Carnegie Hall? Back in the 60s, I used to live near New York, or in New York, and sometimes my parents used to take me to these Russian dancers in Carnegie Hall. Anyway, that's a long time ago. But one day I saw there's these bowels singing. Who were these bowels from India? I never went to see them, but they were these great singers. And they're one of these sects, these Upasambradayas from Bengal. They're mentioned in Bhaktivinoda's list, the bowels and the owls and the sahajiyas and the Gauranga Nagaris and everything. So even bhakti yoga can be deviated by our old bugaboo, material desire and modes of nature. And so that's why we have the verse from Sanatana Goswami, Shruti, Smriti, Puranari, Pancharata Vadhing Vina, Aikantaki Hade Bhakta Utpataya Kalpate. So-called Hari Bhakti, or any devotion to God, any religion really, which has no reference to the Shruti, to the Vedas and the Smritis, such as Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, such as Bhagavad Purana, the Pancharatra, like the Narada Pancharatra. Vidhi means the instructions, the do's and the don'ts there. No reference to that. Is simply a disturbance in society. a disturbance in society. So Krishna consciousness works and is happily and joyfully performed, but it's also a razor's edge. And we have to be careful because the material mind is always telling us, well, why do I have to do that? You know? Can't I just chant? Can't I just go to Vrindavan? You know? What do I have to do all this other stuff for? That ISKCON, they're uptight, you know, there's all those, what are those 4 regs anyway? I heard about them, but that's the essential aspect that has to be there. That is the foundation where you can actually make advancement. All right, I'm going to stop there and we'll have a little reading or a little poetry. You had a request, which I will honor. We are in text number 4. Yes?
That word sahaja actually means...
Sahajiya means taking it very easily. Yes. Yes. Sahajiya. All right, text 4 tomorrow. So, the Krishna Rupa Goswami prays. This is from, I think it's from this Leela Chanda, which is a remarkable work, which is a summary of Krishna's Vrindavan Leela with these special Chanda verses, which I could share with you also. But he's in the middle of this, he has his prayer. Amonasijapati dushte, labdapatos mi dushte, timadagahana rupe, hanta sangsara kupe, ajitanakala raksha he tamundara daksham, upanayamam haste, bhakti rajum namaste. You notice how it rhymes in the middle, each line, you know, in the middle. So he says, fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust, whose venom burns like fire. Helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is ne'er in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hand and pull me out. Now Prabhupada, he gives a lecture, not on this verse particularly, but another similar verse about, you know, Krishna pulling us out of the well. And he says, Krishna can pull us out of the well, no problem, you know, but we have to hold on to the rope. And that rope, that bhakti rajum, like literally means rope of bhakti, are all the do's and the don'ts and the principles and everything that we are joined to follow. That's our responsibility. Otherwise, even Krishna can't pull us out. In other words, if we're determined and stubborn, we want to stay here, Krishna says, okay. You know, he doesn't force. Because the spiritual world is all about voluntary love. There's no force there. So that's until we learn the lesson that we have to, you know, follow the principles strictly. That's our responsibility. But we should know that if we do, Krishna will definitely do his part and pull us out. It may not always be exactly in the way we thought. You know, we may get slapped down for our own good to get so that we stop trying to enjoy this world. But you know, when we hear the Shastra and Tulsi's prayers and understand, say, well, this is actually the best thing for me. It's good. I mean, just a note. When Vyasa Puja comes in the middle of August 16th this year, we always have a program here, and we're going to read some of the offerings. I get to read some. So I'm going to try to read Guru Granth Maharaj's offering. He's in the book again this year. And one of the things he said is that this whole terminal illness that he's got is the best thing that's ever happened to him. Best thing that's ever happened. That it's, you know, so many lessons he's learning, and those who come out, there's all kinds of kirtan evening for hours, you know, and people are coming. He has a place in Vrindavan. But that statement, I mean, he has, and there's more to it than that, but he's a realized statement there in this offering. It's incredible, really. So, but you know, I shouldn't read it until then, till the time comes. So I'll give you one more shloka. I don't have a poem for this one yet, but I'm thinking of writing. So in the nectar of devotion, there are 64 qualities of Krishna. And near the beginning, if you read those, if you remember reading Nectar of Devotion, it describes how Krishna has lotuses in 8 parts of his body, you know, and the gopis are attracted. So the 8 parts are 2 lotus eyes, 2 lotus hands, 2 lotus feet, 1 lotus face, and 1 lotus navel. So there's 8 there. So this is the verse describing how the gopis, when they look at any one of those 8 parts, they can't draw their eyes away. They're so much attracted to see. So listen to the Sanskrit. Ashtanam dhanujabat anga pangajangaya ekasmin katamapayat ballavinam rolakshi bhamadati papata tasman notatum dutimanupankila chamasi. So Ashtanam, Dhanujabid is Krishna who kills the demons who are all born of Dhanu. That's what we call Dhanavas, the descendants of Dhanu. Dhanujabid anga pankajang. So he has 8 limbs, 8 parts of his limbs are like lotuses. So when the bee-like eyes of the gopis see any one of those 8, then they get stuck in there. They get stuck in the sweet, the little word is mud. You know, pankaja is the lotus, which is born in the mud. But this duty pankaja is also like thick honey, and they cannot withdraw their bee-like eyes. They get stuck in there, just like a bee will get stuck in the honeycomb or something. So pray for me so that I can write a little poem about that, because it's really that. But each of these qualities has several verses describing it, and Prabhupada quotes them in the Nectar of Devotion. This is how we can get absorbed in Krishna. We know he's beautiful, but how is he beautiful? What are the details? That's what really can absorb us in Krishna's personality. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So now we're going to see the beautiful Radha Giridhari. Chant Hare Krishna.
Then there's another verse about how Brahma, when he hears Krishna's flute through his 8 earballs, he loses his composure and starts rolling around on the back of his swan.
That's that.
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Satarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nidhi. It's open. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Giridhari, Radha Giridhari, Radhe. Go Premanande Hare Bo. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa, Dravida Ashtotar Sri Srimad, Divine Great.
Jai.
Krishna.
All glory to the Son of the
Hare Krishna.
All glory to the Son of the
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Guru and Guranga.
All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Alada Aladandayane. Hiranyakashipo Vakshaha. Shilatankanakalaye. Don Shinga Paraton Singo. Yato Yato Yamitaton Singha. Bahin Sringo Rindayin Sringo. Nrsimhamading Sharanang Prapadye. Tapakara Kamalabhare Nakam Anbuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanum Bringa Krishna Vandrita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Tapakara Kamalava Re Nakam Anta Singha. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakama Tuta Shringa Andalita Hiranyakashipu Tanum Bringa Krishna Vandrita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tamakara Kamalavare Kamabuta Shringa Jai Nrsimhadev, 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 Jai Nrsimhadev. Jai Nrsimhadev, 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 Jai Nrsimhadev. Shri Bhagavan ki jai, Kula Maharaj ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you.